Hello everybody, welcome to my next movie review. I just remembered I have an absolutely hysterical story about this movie. That involves the Marine Corps. And oddly enough, and I totally forgot that this movie and the next, well, two movies I'm going to review that are on the same disc have the same guy, in them, and it's Mark Holton. And in this movie, he plays a tiny part right towards the end of the movie, but one of my favorite actors who I wish I could find the movie Saving Private Ryan he's in is Tom Hanks. Of course, it's screw legs and gone AWOL. Military reference there. In My House Somewhere. I think it might be hiding out with the other Phantom of the Opera, because I don't know where it is either. The old one, the Claude Rains version. I think those two movies are hiding. But anyway, it's a League of Their Own. I totally forgot when I did Dick Tracy that Madonna was in this movie. And then I realized it after I did the movie review. The only thing about Madonna in this movie is where, she actually, in this movie, her character, I think, is actually tempered out by Rosie O'Donnell, who's also in this movie, and Lori Petty, and Tom Hanks and Geena Davis. And besides, Madonna's character is not such a big character that she actually, overpowers the movie, and she's not singing in it. This is one of those. This is the only movie that I can think of that Madonna did okay in. She stunk in Dick Tracy, as I mentioned before. But this has got Ann Cusack, who, like I mentioned before, is a Rain Lady or Sub Girl in Tank Girl, which Lori Petty also made, that I've already reviewed. This movie is, of course, about baseball. It's the Women's All-American Baseball League. And it's set during World War II. And, it talks about how, since the male baseball league is, out because, a lot of the baseball players are actually serving the country, during World War II, they decided to do the women's league. I've actually been to the Baseball Hall of Fame, where they show, towards the end of the movie, the older ladies go in there to do the opening of the women in baseball. And I've actually been in where that actually was shot, and it's okay, but this is a pretty good movie, and it's a decent movie to watch. The Marine story is several years ago in 2004, my cousin, who I won't name here, was in boot camp in Fort Lejeune, South Carolina, and I was writing him letters. Well, his mom, who I love her to pieces, and she's, a wonderful person, had told me that my cousin, who was in Marine boot camp, was having a horrible time. I quoted Tom Hanks from this movie, and, I said, it's like, I told him, I said, it's like Tom Hanks says in A League of Their Own. I said, if it was easy, everybody would do it, and that's what makes it great. And I started talking about baseball with him and everything, because I didn't realize he absolutely just loved this movie, and, that he absolutely, loved baseball and stuff. So, and his mom, told me later that, that actually, made him feel better, because, my cousin had a really just hard week, that week, in boot camp. Well, and I told my cousin, I said, if it was that easy, I said, everybody and their sister would be, doing it. I go, another thing, and it's noted on the Wikipedia thing, and I just looked it up, let me see, that Jimmy Duggan, and I'm going to read this verbatim off of Wikipedia's page about this movie, A League of Their Own. It says on Wikipedia, the Jimmy Duggan proclamation, "Are you crying? There's no crying. There's no crying in baseball," was rated the 54th on the American Film Institute's list of the greatest film quotes of all time. Yeah, and, frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn from Gone with the Wind is, like, I think, like, number one or number two on that list. I mean, everybody and their sister knows that quote. Of course, that movie's been around a lot longer than this one has been. But anyway, one of my favorite, lines is, that's what makes it great. That's what makes it good. Because every time I hear that part, I think of, the story I told my cousin who was in boot camp, and he told his mom that made him feel better, and it helped him out a lot, with his, boot camp and everything, and it made it easier. Well, anyway, I'm going to pause here because I've got some more movies I want to review. And hang on.